consider this guy a mentor. Met him some years ago, doing something completely different than what I do now. I was in a Kroger's, and that meeting created a lot of change, a lot of opportunity. I consider him a friend. So I want to bring you to the stage, as Dee's calling it. And we are going to talk and meet an amazing, do you want me to call you the author? You have so many titles, George. I don't know what to call you.
Just human being.
Oh. We are going to meet an amazing human being, Mr. George Addison, who has had an illustrious career in media. He's got stories to tell. I don't know what he's going to tell us today. We're going to talk about his new book. But would you mind, originally, I'm going to tell you why we have 3 seats. We had a co-host, and he disappeared. So in spirit, he's right here, okay?
Okay. In spirit present.
Yes. But first, I want to thank you for taking time and showing up. You know, when it gets later in the hour, it's kind of like, you know, remember when Jerry Lewis would loosen his tie? Part of me wants to loosen my pearls right now, but I'm not going to. I did it my way. I will not do that yet. But about 10:30, that's what's going to happen.
You look absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so much. He's now my favorite guest of the evening. Thank you. But I want to talk. You have done so much. I kind of don't know where to start. And I've interviewed you before, but I really want the folks to get to know you before we even start talking about the book. So,
okay.
All right, here's my first question. Who is George Addison?
Well, you know, oddly enough, that question follows me wherever I go. Whether I'm working with kids and I just happen to walk into a school off the street and the people look at me and say, well, who is that man? It follows me everywhere. And I guess because a lot of times when I approach people, whether they're in business, school, or whatever, I really don't have any agenda other than the fact that I want to help make a difference for whatever it is they're working on. And so when you live like that, when you walk after that way, and your whole intent is to serve others, then you know, people tend to look at you a second time and say, well, who is that guy? In other words, who's that masked man? Is he a Long Ranger or what? But you know, I've just been blessed. You know, I've had an illustrious career, beautiful life. I meet great people like yourself. And I've done everything from opening up the Olympics with a program, to halftimes for the NFL, to you know, doing great stories and interviews with famous people, and like Jesse Owens, the Olympian who tripped out Hitler. Hitler was kind of upset about him, but he did great at the Olympics that year. And you know, I just don't know where to start. I mean, like Gordon Parks was my mentor. And you know, we started out as pen pals, and that relationship kind of went full circle when he appeared on my show, which I produced for PBS years ago, called the National Black Business Report. And that show broadcast to 14 million households in the U.S. and the Caribbean, and it ran pretty much during from the early to mid 70s, for about 5-6 years, until I went back to work for Uncle Sam. I was public affairs person for Uncle Sam, and had to travel overseas and do a lot of things. But I just don't know where to start. You know, my thing has always been, you know, if someone approached me with some opportunity, I very seldom said no. I was always told to say yes, because that's how you grow. And, you know, you live your life unlimitedness and relentlessly, and, you know, good things happen. So, make a long story short, which I'm trying to do. Trust me. I really never like to tell what I really know and what I've done, because people look at you like, you can't be real. Because
you've done a lot. That's the thing. And I think the thing that always amazes me is that even in a conversation, I'm like, wait, you do? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. And it's been like pivotal points of history. You're like, I was there, met so and so, and you're so like cool about it.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, oh wow.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is also something our young folks need to hear, because they need an appreciation of the things that have happened.
Well, you know, I was shaped by history in the sense that when I was a young kid, I witnessed 4 assassinations in this country. You know, we had Martin, we had Malcolm, you know, we even had Meggers, so that would be about 5. And we had Bobby Kennedy, you know, I mean, Martin Luther King. I mean, we lost giants. John Kennedy, we lost giants. And had we not lost those people, who knows what we would be as a nation right now, because it was heading all in the right direction. And that made an impact. And so, you know, Kennedy used to ask, don't ask what you can do for others, but what can you do for your country, basically. And we bought into that. We bought into that vision that we're here as a collective. We're all trying to do stuff together. But as we start watching right before our eyes on TV, our heroes being murdered, it got kind of desperate. We kind of felt, discouraged and felt that, evil was running, loose all over the place, all over the world. And so to honor those people before us, I think a lot of us have been touched with the spirit of service. My mother was a social worker, and I grew up watching her, work with others and try to help them. So it was just a natural progression for me. And, along the way, I just didn't refuse any opportunities to learn and develop new talents. And, the Lord continues to bless me now.
Now, I know that you, as you say, you live a life of service. I've seen you doing things in the community. Said your name, oh, he helped me do this, or he helped me do this, or he helped me build my business, gave me this opportunity. I would love for you to share a couple of nuggets of wisdom about being of service. I think it's a lost art right now. We're living in a very microwavable, self-serving society. I think people need to be motivated. They need to understand the power of service.
Well, a lot of times people go out here and they say, I want to accomplish great things. But you can't really accomplish great things until you learn to help others accomplish great things. I always tell people, there's, nobody's a throwaway person. That's one of my catchphrases. And I mean by that is that whether you're in prison, whether you're out of prison, whether you're down on your luck, whether you're just seeking a second chance in life, you deserve that opportunity. And people should give you that opportunity. Right now, as you know, we're trying to give away 50,000 copies of our books to underserved schools and juvenile facilities and adult correctional facilities. And so in order to do that, we require the help of other people in other states to help distribute the book. These people already inside books to projects, they already do that. They distribute books to prisoners behind bars. And basically we're trying to just cultivate a culture of literacy, reading, research, and understanding. And I tell people often, I says, when Martin was locked up, when Malcolm was locked up, when Gandhi was locked up, when Mandela was locked up, they were only sustained by the fact that they had access to books. Whether it was the Bible, Quran, or whatever, they had books that basically helped re-energize, recreate, help them refocus, and basically revolutionize their thinking. And as a result of that, they came out, and all of them impacted nations. They had an audience of millions who followed them, who understood what they were doing, and who gravitated towards their wisdom. So by giving these books to these kids and these other people in these adults in prisons, we don't, and I don't particularly, expect them to do anything less than to find a way to use those words to uplift themselves and to go out and impact the world in a large way. So, I think that people deserve a second chance, and I think that people given that second chance, they always go out and do great things.
And you touched on the prisons, because we are a reentry program, and we've had this conversation. You told me that you've worked with reentry programs and you're very familiar with that. The power of a book to someone incarcerated. Touch on that, please.
Well, books, like I said, are powerful. They carry messages, they carry themes, they uplift, they inspire, they motivate. They help energize your thought processes. They get you to see a world in a broader perspective. When I was a kid, I used to spend time in my room looking at National Geographic, looking at Boy's Life, which they don't make anymore, but it's an old school publication. The mechanics, science and mechanic books. I went through a lot of stuff and read a lot of that stuff because I didn't have the most ideal situation growing up, but that allowed me to escape. That allowed me to dream big, And we didn't have really a lot of mentors when I was growing up. you know, some of the civil rights icons, of course. But, you know, Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee were like my two biggest people. You know, I mean, if they come in the room and say anything, I'm going to do it. When I went overseas in the military, the first thing I wanted to do was learn martial arts and jump over buildings like Bruce Lee. And that was until I realized the buildings were only 5 feet high. But you know, I followed the goal. I followed the pursuit because I was inspired and motivated by what I saw him do. I mean, he was a phenomenal guy. He was a little fella, about $130 wet, you know, but he did fantastic things, you know. And then, of course, the greatest, Muhammad Ali, you know, what can you say about this cat? You know, they tried to destroy him, tried to tear him down, and he refused to fall. And by taking that stand, he not only represented himself, but he represented the nation of black people around the world. And you know, he was, you know, to me, he was everything. I mean, I cried like a baby when Joe Frazier beat him. I was just so upset about the whole thing. But there were lessons to learn for him too. And so, you know, he came back to be even greater. So, you know, I was happy with that. And fortunately, during my lifetime, I had the chance to meet him several times on several occasions, from L.A. to where he used to live, right off of Wilshire Boulevard. And I used to meet him and do things when Lou Rawls was doing his telethon. Ali would be there, and then, of course, you know, every time he saw me, he just like, you know, wanted to mess with me, you know. And he says, I'm prettier than you. So it was great, and the book tells a story about the time that I first met him and interviewed him in Miami years ago in the early 70s, when basically he was getting ready to fight Larry Holmes. And I'll never forget when we walked down. We were at the DuPont Plaza Hotel, which was a huge grand hotel. It's no longer there now. They just demolished it. But it was a huge grand hotel. And I'll never forget at the time that the Haitians were coming to America, Ali got word that, you know, they wanted him to come out to the balcony. And so we went out there to the balcony, and it was a sea of black faces, a sea of Haitians chanting, Ali, 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 and just resonated like you were like in a live motion picture, you know, and it was electric. And the cat was just so cool and so neat, you know. I mean, he was just really, really humble. I mean, when you saw him performing before the cameras, which is what it was pretty much, he was living up to the icon status. But privately, he was just as cool, and he really wasn't trying to always be saying stuff. He was laid back. I mean, he really kind of took backstage when you had private moments with him, and you know, to reflect. And I'll just never forget when they had a hold of him, and then they passed him around, you know, and brought him back to the balcony, chanting Ali the whole time. It was like, this is crazy, you know. And as a young person at the time, it was like really crazy to me and exciting to me that he trusted them and they trusted him, you know. And so when you are caught up in moments like that, it's easy to be inspired. Another moment at that same hotel, I spent some private time with Andrew Young, who was ambassador to Jimmy Carter, and it was around the time that he had gotten in trouble with the Palestinians. And what was so surreal about that was that we were both sitting in the hotel on the sofa with our feet up on his coffee table, watching him on the news. And the fact that at that time he was under attack by the ADL, the Jewish Anti-Defamation League, because they felt that he was trying to help the Palestinians get recognized, which he believed in, but someone had leaked the information to them of a private meeting that he had, and they were calling for his resignation from the Carter administration. And you know, I asked him while we were sitting there. I was like, how can you do this? You know, I mean, you marched with Martin and, you know, fought for civil rights and all this stuff. How can you know, the political mess? It's messy. And how can you, you know, withstand the name call? You know, threats on your life. You know, all those kinds of things that people do because you disagree with them. And he said, you know, basically, there wasn't going to be any peace in the Middle East until both parties were able to sit down and reconcile it for themselves. And look where we are today in 2021 in the Middle East. Still the same situation needs to be dealt with in that way. But, you know, I guess we don't learn in this country from history. Otherwise, we would be taking different routes on a lot of things to make people have a better life.
Well, speaking of history, now this is, I gotta ask you as a friend, because it always, like I said, always amazing with her conversation. What goes through your head when you realize I have been in all of these historical and pivotal moments? Now I gotta say, one day we were talking, I almost said, I was watching Forrest Gump, and you know how he was in all these moments. I'm like, George is like, he is like in all these moments, and you just are so nonchalant when you're telling me stuff, and I'm like, wait, back up, what you were, oh my God, you were there. But you have truly seen him, and I think what I really have I have an appreciation because I'm talking to young folks, and they have no clue. They don't have an appreciation for the people who have sacrificed for what they have now.
Yeah.
And you have been a part of that. So how does that, I mean, you just have been everywhere.
Well, you know, and the weird thing about this, one time I was out in St. Louis, and I was with some brothers from the Nation of Islam, and they were trying to get me to come in. And I told them, I said, I can't really join anything. I'm one of those guys, I just can't have any allegiance to like an organization that's going to limit my flexibility and my growth. And they were saying, but you're the messenger. Says you're everywhere, and you see things, and you write it in a way that people want to follow and listen to. And I told him, I said, well, you know, I can't do that. I told that again to Wallace D. Muhammad in San Francisco many years later after he had left the nation and formed his own thing out there on the West Coast. And, you know, the Gump thing is a new thing. I never even thought of it in those terms. But that wasn't me. See, that's the universe. That's the universe at work. That's not me. I could not have written my life and all the encounters that I had and all the opportunities I had at pivotal times in history. I mean, I actually pretty much was the messenger. I mean, I watched, I observed, and given the opportunity, now I'm beginning to tell some of those things that I actually saw and experienced as a young person. But I didn't have a script. I didn't have a plan. I had, like I said, my two key inspirations was Ali and, you know, Bruce Lee, and, you know, and then a few people in between, Malcolm and Martin. You know, I respected people who put the work in, because I was always taught to listen to your elders. It's not a debate. It's not a democracy. It's not confrontational.
Right.
You don't know anything because you haven't lived. So shut up, look, learn, listen. And you don't take that in a negative sense. When I came up, you took that as, okay, I don't know anything.
Right.
Let me shut up and look and learn and listen. and as a result of that, I met tremendous people. I met great people. I mean, how many times does the Prime Minister of Jamaica invite you and your camera crew to Jamaica to tour the whole island and talk about tourism for his country? That's what Michael Manley did for me and my crew. Got invited to Manhattan to meet Cliff Wharton, whose father was an ambassador, and he was a former ambassador, and he was the CEO at the time of the TIAA Kraft Foundation. And people who know that name or that acronym know that they had huge money, and here's a brother running it, you know. So, but I found out throughout the years that we, as people of color, are running just about everything here in this country, and folks don't know it. You know, they think it's somebody else, but it's usually us that's took on dotting and crossing T's. Right. It's usually us. We just don't get credit from it. But I'm just, you know, like I said, I'm always, you know, I'm like this. I'm always speechless about talking about this stuff, because I honestly didn't think of doing any of this. I was a kid that was laid back growing up, and I was the oldest of 3 kids, and, you know, I was raised the old school way. You know, you didn't do certain things. You didn't get in. You just didn't do certain things, or your mama would kill you. You wouldn't have to worry about somebody else killing you. Your mama would do you in. You know, and so I respected that. I didn't always agree with it. I didn't appreciate it, but I was a kid. I was learning, and you know, it has served me well throughout my life. I'm 66 now, so you know, I've been around a little bit. I've seen a few things. I've been around presidents, ambassadors. You know. Great athletes, I mean, you know, and you know, great politicians, some phenomenal women. Jessie Radley, who's in this book, she was like almost right hand of Jimmy Carter, off the books, kind of speak.
Right.
And she wound up teaching at the what is it, I think it's Kennedy Harvard School of Politics or something. She was a professor there. But the thing is, she taught me about all the smoke-filled rooms, because a lot of times she wasn't allowed in them. And when she went in, man, she was every bit of Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Jordan. She was a bad lady. And she helped me cut my teeth, and all I did was whatever she needed is what I did. I was primarily supposed to be the photographer for her, but George, give me my shoe over there. I said, here you are, you earned it, because I seen her at work, you know. And so I was fortunate to be around great people who made great strides for us to be able to do what we do today. It's kind of still crazy because they're trying to turn the clock back, but the bottom line is, had it not been for the thousands and thousands of people who gave their lives and sacrificed, and sacrificed in a way where a lot of times they were away from their families. You know, when you're away from your family, your kids know you're fighting for them. You're trying to create a better tomorrow for them. See? So, you know, I can never claim credit for any of this stuff. You know, it's just not my work. I'm just the vessel.
Well, let me ask, because you have done some amazing interviews and Matt. So you've done so much, and we got to remember before it comes for our next conversation. But I was just sitting there thinking, like, George has done that. But what's the one interview, like the person you just wanted to interview and you didn't get a chance, whether it's because they're not here anymore or you just haven't had the opportunity?
Well, I had a friend who will be in the next book, Johnny Wilder. He was the founder and lead singer for Heat Waves. And his signature song was Always and Forever. That was his song. And, you know, Johnny and I, you know, I did get interviewed from him, but mostly Johnny would call me here in Louisville late at night, and he lived in Dayton. He said, Georgia, I'm going in the studio. Come on down here and hang with me and work on my business plan. I said, man, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't feel like driving to Dayton. And I would just be crying and whining, not wanting to go down to him. And then, of course, you know, the missus would look at me and say, he's not going to leave you alone. You got to get the car and go. So I'd be driving up to Xenia and then to Dayton to do stuff with him a lot of times in the studio. And we were planning a trip to California. First of all, he had been in an accident, became a paraplegic. He couldn't do anything from the neck down, okay? And this is a guy that used to do acrobats on stage. He was sitting at a stoplight one day when they came in from England, going to the store, and the lady ran the light in Dayton and he got paralyzed. This is how the universe works. His brain and his voice were intact, okay? So he didn't lose a beat with his harmonies, and he was one of the best in the business. Matter of fact, he was so good that MCA and other record companies sent their artists to train voice with him. He was so talented, even after the accident, that Apple and them asked him to help work with the voice recognition on their systems, okay? When he passed away, he had an a cappella label dealing in inspirational music with at least 64 artists on it. This is a guy, you know, like almost like Stephen Hawkins, you know, almost in the chair. And he was alert and full alive. They gave him less than a year to live. He lived 20 years. Okay? That's the universe that I talk about. That's what they do. We don't have anything to do with that. You know, when Teddy Pendergrass got injured, you know, those 2 guys would be cutting up at football stadiums in wheelchairs, running people away in the corridors, running up and down the course trying to run people over, you know. And unfortunately, they try to help with Curtis Mayfield, but Curtis's spirit wasn't into it, and so we lost him. But this is the kind of stuff and the kind of people that I was blessed to be around, you know. And it wasn't because I sought them out or even knew they were on my radar. It was because the universe had put people in my place who said, hey, they need to meet you. This is what's going to go on. And as a result, I was able to build relationships. And I grew up in the industry at a time where your word was your bond. Okay? I might have known you were wealthy, but I was not going to be giving your secrets up for the tabloids or anyone. And I'm still that way. And that's not what they do today. Everybody wants their 15 minutes, including the journalists. And as a result, a lot is lost in the middle. And I would have never gotten into broadcast TV had it not been for a one-time governor in Florida who I was sitting in on some conversations with a friend of mine who was like a blind Stevie Wonder, but he was a lawyer and he was a broadcaster, and I helped him produce his show in Miami because I was a news director at the station. And through him, he was a political powerhouse. They all came through him. All the mayors, all the senators, everybody came. And I met them. And then one day the governor asked me, he said, well, what do you really want to do, George? I said, well, I want to get in broadcast news. Next thing I know, He picked up the phone, the station I didn't know he owned some money, part of an ABC affiliate, made a call, and next thing I know, I was down there doing TV news. And this was at the time that they had the Miami riots and had burnt the city up. The person that trained me was a gentleman by the name of Wyatt Andrews, who became CBS's top correspondent in Moscow and the White House. That's who trained me. And I got smoldering buildings behind me and everything because they had the riots because the police, once again, had killed a gentleman. They killed a gentleman by the name of McDuffie. And what they did was they chased McDuffie through the streets of Miami, using racial epithets all on the radio. They didn't realize they were so caught up to catch him. They just called him the N-word and everything else. And when they got him, they beat him to death, broke up his bike, his motorbike, threw parts of it on different building tops. And then lied on the report about what happened to him. And so, of course, when the truth came out, people were incensed and they set the city ablaze. Yeah. So, there you go again, another moment in history.
Yeah.
I'm right in the middle of it and survived it. And it's only because of the universe and God's grace that I got through that. But that wasn't, the least of it. And during that same time, I went to rescue a news crew that was caught in the middle of the riots in Liberty City. And when I went down there, because our star brother reporter said he didn't want to deal with them people, I never disassociate with my people, no matter where I'm at. LA, New York, it doesn't matter. They're my people. And so I don't have that hang up. And so I went down to get these people who were not black, they were white, but they were in danger. And I almost got killed. SWAT officers saw me, and next thing I know, I had a red dot all on it. And I finally spotted him. He was beside a building. I could see half of his body, and the other part was a silhouette. And I could see sweat coming down his face. It was a white cop. He was terrorized. And then what I did is something that's so ridiculous, but you know that part where Richard Pryor says, I am reaching for my... I did that to show him that I had city credentials to be there.
Right.
And that I was there strictly to help somebody get out of that riot zone. Right. And, that was the creator. Because he could have shot me without even waiting for me to do anything. Or he was so afraid he could have shot me because he was afraid. And, I was a black guy, so I probably looked 10 feet tall to him. So, right. That was just the universe keeping me alive because that was just another page to turn in the life I was yet to live. So, the story's still unfolding. There are great things still to happen. But, the kids today, I try to give them some of this insight. The point of writing this book was for them to be uplifted and inspired and motivated and to know in the end that anything they wanted to accomplish was within them. Nobody regulates that. I used to read about black millionaires back in the 1700s in shipping, okay? Nobody was trying to support a black man to be a shipping magnate back in the 1700s. So, we can always be great. We don't have to have somebody's permission. We don't have to wait for a certain time or have X number of dollars saved up. You can be great with no dollars. And, you just have to want it.
Well, I do want to touch on the book because I was actually going to, now I got to ask. So, having witnessed so many various protests, being an integral part, being in the midst, in the smoke, this last year and a half, what's that been like for you, just watching that historical moment?
Well, Breonna and George Floyd and all of that, and I tell you what I did. I waited till we got to the point of where we had the verdict was going to come out, the settlement was going to come out, right, and all of that. And then what I did, the day before the settlement, which I think was like a Sunday or it was a Sunday, something was happening. Either the settlement was coming out or the verdict was going to come out. I went down to the city, and all I wanted to do was capture pictures of the stillness and the starkness. From the police building all the way down the street to where the trucks were set up with the barricades, just wanted to capture the silence and the starkness. None of the noise, none of the protesting, none of the chanting, And then I asked myself, is this what that child deserved? Businesses with owned by blacks on it. This was taking me back, like back 20, 30 years, you know. And all this girl wanted to do was enjoy a movie while she was at home and chill out. And I went out and got photos of her place, and you know, I have those in the catalog as well. But I look at, was it worth it? I look at whether or not George Floyd was worth it. I mean, yeah, they got a little cash, a drop in the bucket, okay? I just pray they're able to keep it and do something good with it and not squander it because it was paid for with blood. So, you know, I'm happy that they had that, but they have to live the legacy for that girl because she's no longer with us, so they have to live the legacy correct. You know, I still have fixed emotions about what happened after it with the horses and all the other stuff, but that's not the point. The point is this city is not going to be able to move forward until that girl's spirit is at rest. And that's what people forget. You know, let's hurry up. COVID's we dealing with, that's more important. Let's do this, let's do that. No, it's like living in a haunted house. Until the house is cleaned and exercised, it's not going to change the results of anybody who inhabit it. They will still be haunted. And when I look at the city and how it's, you know, moving forward, the city's still haunted. Everybody's rushing to get back to normal, but what they fail to remember is we never had normal. So what you racing back to? That's my thought on it.
Now that was something. That's something to think about and really mull over. And then you talk about, you know, community, our city, and you know, I'm gonna take us back here to what we do here as a reentry program. I would really like for you to give some thoughts on reentry because I know you're very versed in everything that's going on here in the community, the different levels, even the uprising, how all these things just tie into, unfortunately, our reality. And reentry, incarceration is such a huge part of the black community, especially, and poverty and economic challenges. Could you speak to how important successful reentry is?
And I'll start it by saying this. I grew up, I experienced being in gangs. I was with a gang one night, we nearly killed someone. And at that moment that I knew that we were going to kill this person, something woke up inside of me and made me intercede, which I could have got killed for interceding because with the gang I was with, you just didn't do that, and the person was white. And so that was double shooting for me. But I knew that if my mother would have seen me out there doing what I was doing, she would have killed me because she didn't raise me that way. And so I was not going to be silent and allow myself to be drawn into killing and taking another life. You know, at that moment, I knew the right thing was to tell them, hey, here comes the cops, let's run. And everybody didn't look for the cops. They just took the word from me and knew it was good, and we dished, and the white boy got to live that night. Then also, you know, I have to look at where I've been. I was with the military police, Stockade, you know, in Missouri. I've seen how people locked up in there. And I went in and I ate breakfast and lunch and everything with them every day. But I got to hear their stories and talk to them, okay? I've been locked up for doing stuff, you know, mostly for being black. I remember one judge called me uppity because I showed up at the court with a suit on and a briefcase.
Wow.
This is in California, okay? And then, you know, I had someone in my family who received a sentence of 100 years. Yeah. And I had to help try to fight for them to get out of jail. Eventually that sentence was cut down to 5 years. And that person was my mother. Which I've never told anybody that story ever. See? So when you look at why I have a commitment to trying to help people who are incarcerated, people who are looking for a second chance, it's personal because I witnessed my mother spending her time trying to help people all the time. And as a result, she wound up in jail for something she didn't do. But because, like the majority of people, if you don't have the money, you have to plead. And if you have to plead, usually you're not guilty. Now, there's plenty of people that plead that are guilty, but the majority of people, at least 80-90%, are not guilty. They just don't have money to fight their case. I've known people who killed people, and if they had $25K, they got off from killing people. And yet, you can jaywalk, or you can get caught with a nickel bag, or whatever, and be in jail for life.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have the right representation. So, I'm motivated to inspire and help those people live the life they were intended to live. Because, you know, prison is just only a stop for us. It's a mandatory stop for most of us. And the only reason we're there is because we don't have the money to defend ourselves adequately. You know, we ain't the only ones committing crimes in this country. But we're the ones that catch the double and triple penalties for the minimum crimes. And so, you know, I'm just, you know, I just believe. Because how many brothers that we have been in jail for 20, 30 years for something they didn't do. And then they get out. And then the state doesn't ever want to acknowledge they screwed up. It doesn't want to pay them any money so they can get a new life. So you create that system. I'll tell you another quick story. I happened one time to be put on prison board. And I was the only black in the room. There was about 4 or 5 members. I made 5, I think. And they were white Republicans. And they wanted to know how the hell I got in the room. I got in the room because Lieutenant Governor told me I was all of a sudden in the meeting. Okay. So I'm in the meeting, and they go around the table, want to know, you know, introducing themselves, want to know who I am. And I told them, I said, well, look, I said, my name's George Addison, and I'm here to stop the flow of black people into your prisons.
Well.
You should have seen their faces.
I can only imagine.
They said head to the no-no. Because I'm talking about messing with their money.
Right.
I'm talking about these dorm-style prisons, these work release programs, doing all this other stuff. And this dude's, he's crazy. And so the next meeting, tell you how to do. They got another brother to come to the meeting. His job was to tag me. If I went this way, he gonna go that way and block me. And I just laughed. I just laughed because, you know, as far as I was concerned, they were exposed for who they really were.
Right.
Now, how do I get the information to someone that can usefully work that to our advantage? That's what that experience was for me. And so it was just interesting that, you know, life is always like playing chess. You know, even when you're not trying to play the game, you find yourself on the board. And you have to make a move. And as long as you move with sincerity and good intent, then you're probably going to wind up winning the game. And so that's how I approach everything. You know, my mother raised 3 kids. She was twice divorced. I mean, I put all the statistics. And, you know, I was the oldest of 3, and, you know, couldn't have been any worse scenario, you know, back in the 60s and 70s, and you know, to get through that. But I did, because I've always been, you know, kind of blessed and protected, unbeknownst to myself. I just thought I was going through life. I didn't know that all of these steps I had gone through and all these people I had met and all these directions I was going in, that when I looked back over my shoulder, I could see stairs where everything was leading to where it was supposed to lead.
Well, and you know, we always have great conversations. You always inspire me, you always motivate me. I have to say, I've told you this before. I firmly believe that God gives you the people in your path that you're supposed to have to get you next level.
All the time.
You are an amazing mentor, and I always say, well, my mentor, George. So they're like, oh, I like George Addison. You don't need to worry about all that. But when you told me about the book, I was so excited that you were releasing this book, because I know this was from the heart. This is a passion.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about the book. I want you to give a little bit of insight, because I want people to buy this. And I love that even with the mission of releasing the book, there's another mission to put the book in the hands of folks in various programs and stuff. So let's talk about that some, so people can get an insight to Moments in the Shadow of Greatness, Volume 1.
Yeah, it's looking like, you know, I started out with the intent of having 6 different volumes, profiling 6 different people in each volume. In this one, I have, like, you know, Barack, Michelle Obama, Ali, Andy Young, Jesse Ratley, and my mentor, Gordon Hawks. And Volume 2, which will be out next year, during Black History Month, features Rockwin Ali, features Oscar Robertson, the Big O, features Jesse Owens, the Olympian, Johnny Wilder, who I talked about, and a couple more other people. I forget. Let's see who I got in this thing, because I have to remember sometimes. Oh, okay, yeah. Michael Manley, Prime Minister of Jamaica.
I just gonna show you've been in all these moments, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and Cliff Wharton. But the third volume is going to be dedicated exclusively to women that I know. So there's a chance you might be in that book. So we're going to have you in there with some great ones. Okay. So because what it's about is about profiling people that not only did great things but had heart, had perseverance, had the patience and the fortitude to get to that crest in their life, that mountaintop in their life. It's not trying to get to anybody else's plateau, but to get to the one that you're destined to get to and do the change and impact those that you need to impact. The book is on sale everywhere. People can get it from Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million. It's selling in the UK. It's selling in Africa. I've got friends that purchased them overseas, and France. It's in France too. I have a friend in France that they purchased it, and everybody who gets the book, they take a selfie with the book and send it to me, because we're working on a billboard that's going to have about 50 people on it from all over the place, and it's going to say join the family and enjoy the read, and they can go ahead and get their copy. And so we've been looking at putting billboards in certain cities across the country to promote the book, probably sometime around the first of the year. So that's like what our goal is. So you got to take a selfie, so you can. I think you're already on there.
Yes, but I can give you another glance one. I don't mind.
Yeah, we took one.
Because the book is my autograph copy. Sorry. Hush for a minute, Dean. Let me get this phone. Look, Bruin said the customer. There he goes. Well, mine's sitting on a display. So anytime someone comes in the office, they're like, "Tell me about the book," so that I do the pitch. But I'm always proud to know you. But I'm proud of you for doing this because you gave life to what a lot of, and I keep saying young folks, because I keep having conversations with especially the 20-year-olds. They don't have an appreciation for the folks like you who have put in work and who have been a part of history.
But that's their way out. What people don't understand is that everyone's life has a story attached to it. Okay? You may feel that story is unique to you, but what you'll find out when you follow your heart and your story is that you're part of a mosaic. That's why we lean on one another. Right. That's why we get inspired and grow and are motivated from one another. It's because we're connected. We can't make it unconnected. People all around the world are connected. Now, but you have to know that by knowing your story and who you are inside. And once you begin to understand that, because I used to always ask the question, what is all of this? What is this? What's the point? What is it for? And then for that, people tell me, you got to be a preacher, you got to be this. I said, no, I'm not leading anybody over the cliff. I said, I'm having a hard enough time staying on the mountain myself. So I can't do that journey for you. But what you can do is uplift people, be inspired to find in their heart where they're supposed to be. And I'm always posting stuff on my site about love and betrayal and friendship, and that's lessons I had to learn myself. They were painful. I had to cry, I had to grow up, I had to do all sorts of things to learn that so that I know who I am. And if you can express that publicly, you get there sooner than if you try to keep it in and try to hide, or I didn't let nobody see me cry, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's all great for the movies, but you'll break yourself to pieces in the real life if you try to keep those emotions locked in you. You got to get them out. Whether you by yourself or someone you trust me in with, to let you get out and say, all right, go ahead, baby, cry, get it out you. But that's what it's about. This book just manifests all of that kind of stuff that I've been through, that I've experienced, and that I've seen in real time. I have a GoFundMe site. The GoFundMe site is called Encouraging Words Through Stories. And basically people can go to that site and donate to help us get the 50,000 books that we want to give away. Okay? Then people can, they can contact you and come to me directly, and I can purchase books for their group or whatever and save a few coins for them. Okay. But it also puts money back in. Or they can do the old-fashioned way and go through Amazon and everybody else. But Amazon and them knocks off about 70%. So it keeps us from able to really do a lot. Mm-hmm. I use them for marketing, like they use everybody else.
Right.
But, this is not for me. This is for the world. you know, and I didn't want to do it. I had to do it because it wouldn't go away. I would wake up at night and it says, "You're supposed to be writing this book." And I was like, "Who's this waking me up at 3 in the morning? I'm trying to sleep." But I couldn't. I had to get up and then I write, and by the time I'm finished, it's 6:37 in the morning. And I'm like, "Oh God, I gotta go to work." But I had been working. So right now, where we are is for Christmas, we already have the ebook completed. We haven't released that yet. We got the hard copy completed, haven't released that yet. And I'm halfway done with the documentary that goes with the book. So by Christmas, we're going to have the documentary, we're going to have the audio book, and then we're going to have we got some neat t-shirts that's coming out and caps.
Okay.
So, you know, I want to offer that collective as we move into Black History for 2022 when we release the second book. And in between it, I'm also working on a book for Valentine's, as a hard copy. And what that would be is pictures with the poems and stuff I write about life. I call it nuisance from an old man. But you know, this is not anything I'm coming up with. This is stuff I'm being made to pretty much do in order to have peace of mind and be able to go down and lay down at night and not have to be woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's kind of like, you know, compromise with the universe and the creator to get all of these things out of me because, you know, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. You know, the goal is 6, but I don't dictate that number. And at the rate things are happening now with so many young people doing different things, it may be 10, you know. But that's the number he gave me to start out with, or she gave me to start out with, and that's the number that I'm striving towards right now. But the goal is to, you know, get these in the schools if we can get them in the schools, get them into especially the underserved schools that don't have budgets for new books.
Right.
I mean, one year I taught at a school here which was ranked 125 in the country, big AP school and all this other stuff. And when I went in to do some stuff for them, they had books that was 20 and 30 years old with dust on them and rats jumping around in the classroom. I'm not going to name the school, but the bottom line is they were a sham. And we got to look at all of these schools that want to say they this and that and really investigate. Because I've taught in public schools, private schools, charter schools here in this state, D.C., California. I've been around, as we know. We've been around, y'all. But the thing is, never take anything for granted. And I'm grateful for this. All of my kids have at least one master's degree. They're all working jobs that's making anywhere from 70 to almost 100-something thousand a year. They all served in the military. Okay, so they got their school debts wiped out, thank goodness, and they're living their best lives right now, you know. And that's because when they were growing up, I made sure that I went to the schools, that I was on all the committees, anything special coming up, that they was taking special trips or getting special programs. I made sure my kids were there because we didn't have money. Me and Mom were broke. But we were going to give them the life as though they were wealthy by being engaged in that school. So even though it was a public school, whenever something went down that was advantageous for them, and I knew cost plenty of dollars on the outside to do myself, I said, "You going? You going? Right. Because you're going to need this. You're getting an opportunity that the majority of your peers are not getting right now. So you're going to learn it even if you don't use it. You're going to know it." And that's what we did. So thankfully, they're benefiting from their education. My youngest daughter just got her second master's degree.
All right.
Yeah. So, I'm happy that we don't have to take care of them. I'm happy nobody else has to take care of them.
Right.
They don't listen to everything, but they listen to enough to be able to take care of themselves. Right. And that's what we want in the end. So, I ask people to support. I brought you 4 copies here. I'm going to autograph these copies, and people that donate to your effort tonight, you set them out, you want them to donate, they get an autographed copy.
All right.
So,
incentives.
We have them, they got 4 copies, and, I don't autograph these often. Remember, we gave out 25 manuscripts before the book even came out. And I had 26 friends say, "Oh, I said, they said 25. They meant it." So the thing is, You know, the goal is to give away 50,000 copies and also to sell 50,000 copies.
Absolutely.
And what I'm doing right now is I have friends in different states, from Dallas to California. They're all, you know, the goal is at least 1,000 books in each state.
Right.
And so they're getting together their friends to where they have like little teas and all sorts of little meet and greets to where they can start moving these books for me. And, you know, like I said, a lot of them will order come through me. But we do this, and if we can manifest this and raise those funds, I guarantee you the money's going back into communities to do the right thing.
All right.
See, because my mansion ain't here. I thought I was going to the Caribbean to live in St. Croix, and then the hurricane came through. And I said, dang, Lord, you know I wanted the house so I could sit there and watch the ships out there and count my money on the laptop and everything. He said, no, you ain't going to St. Croix. You still got to work here in Louisville, Kentucky. I said, oh, no, man. Come on, the beach. So, you know, that's why I don't plan. That's why I try not to get into that, because he always tells me this ain't what it's about. This is what it's about. And it's, you know, about caring, about inspiring and uplifting people the way that people did you. They just happen to be famous, a lot of them. So, you know, I can't argue with that. You know, I can't.
Well, I tell you, like I tell you one day, I said, you know, I'm interviewing my mentor. You'll be blown away because D Love, and you know, D has been my media guy for years. So I know now.
D for years. I've seen D for years.
I love to watch D's face.
Him and Bud Dorsey. I mean, I started out with Bud Dorsey when I was writing for the Defender years ago. So I know D's been a creator. He's been out here for a while, so he's got stuff to talk about too.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to see his book.
When I saw him lean in, I said, oh, D's all in the interview. But it's always amazing to hear someone's story. And then, like I said, it not only inspires me, because I get inspired, but like I said, others need to hear. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to have you with me tonight. So whomever was listening, since I'm not on this side, I don't know who's listening, could not only be inspired, but just kind of, you know, get to know you. And I do want to do one more plug because, bam, I need you guys to do me a favor. You know, I keep talking to 5 for 5. I want you to follow George's social media. I want you to visit his website. And I'm going to change it for you guys. Why don't you, because Christmas is coming up, why don't you do 5 copies and give away 4 gifts? Keep one for yourself. Give away 4 gifts. That's my 5 challenge for George Addison. So one more time, the links where they can purchase the book and follow you on social media.
Well, they can, if they want to get books for a group, they can email me at BTV10@Yahoo. That's like Bumblebee. BEE TV like television and the number 1010 at Yahoo. If they want to donate on GoFundMe, it's Encouraging Words Through Stories. That's what they would go to on the GoFundMe site. And then if they want to learn about a lot of the stuff we do, they can go to my YouTube channel, which is BMG, B as in boy, M as in Michael, G as in George, Patisse, P-I-T-I-S-E, and BMG Patisse Publishers, okay? And so they can go to that YouTube site and they'll see a representation of all the work from all the national TV shows I've been on, the regional shows, the local shows, and the message to the youth. And, you know, I've always been about people that need second chances, because I wouldn't be here without a second chance. I got second chances, and it continues to the second chances. And I know a lot of times I don't deserve a second chance, but they work in me. So it ain't like I'm getting away with anything. People always tell me, George, stay out of trouble. I said, don't go there. I'm always in trouble. Might be good trouble, but I'm always in trouble.
Ain't nothing wrong with trouble.
So I would support, you know, I would appreciate any of the support that people want to give. And, you know, if they want me to do any speaking, they got to come through you. Because I don't just put myself out there unless I trust people who put me out there to be, you know, be speaking and representing, because time is precious. It's fine, and I don't have any to waste. And the people that I deal with, they don't have anything to waste. Because if you're looking at what's going on every morning when you turn on the news, this planet's out of control, spinning like a rocket.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that means you got to get busier. That doesn't mean you lay back. You got to get busy, because we don't know when it's going to run out. So, you know, they having joyrides in space don't mean a thing. The race is down here on the planet, people. Don't you ever forget it.
See, that was a call to action. Get to work and more. Well, George, I really thank you for giving me your time. And we are going to bring Miss Nelson, we bring you back. We gotta do another. I can put her on camera. But you look so cute. Oh. Look, I just want you to do an ask. What I want you guys to realize. We talked about second chances. We talked about how important. He talked about his second chance. So I'm gonna bring Ms. Nelson on so she can talk about why New Legacy is the home of second chances and how important it is for you guys to sow into New Legacy. Please do not think the issue of reentry is just located in one community. It literally impacts all of us, no matter where you are. This is one of those issues that's an us issue. The same way you take a selfie every morning, this is an ussy. It is something that impacts us all. So we're going to get out of the way, and I'm going to say my thank yous to George, because I appreciate you so much. And again, moments, I'm going to come back and talk about it. And I love that you brought some books. Thank you so much for that.
And I want people to support your effort here because, like I said, it's personal for me. It's not just something to do. I always remind those in power, says, you know, you don't see them. I say, out of sight, out of mind. There's always some good thing you can do. But when you got over 2 million people incarcerated and they're going in on a regular basis, then you need to know that these people are an asset, not a deterrent. They're an asset when they come back into communities because they paid the price for you, so you don't have to go. They paid the price so that they can come back and tell you why it's important not to go and what they plan on doing to change it so people don't go. That's me.
Now that, I think it's